I'm Cath. My channel is Made by Cath Craft. Thank you very much for joining me for my latest video. This video is a bit of a sewing catch-up. So I've got a few different things to share today. I've got a couple of new fabrics that have arrived at my house over the last week or so. And I know what I'm going to make with both of those fabrics. I'm going to talk a little bit about the fabric and what pattern I've chosen and my plans there. They're quite different fabrics actually, so yeah, I'm really looking forward to sewing with both of them. And then I also wanted to share how I was getting on with my latest sewing project, which is a dress. I'm going to talk all about how that's been going as well. So a bit of a mix to catch up on, but as ever I'll start off with what I'm wearing today. And I've got on a top that I haven't pulled out of my wardrobe for quite a while, so I quite enjoyed getting it out this morning. I thought it'd be nice to wear you. And it's a top I made using a pattern I really love. I often say that I've made things using a pattern I really love, but I guess I've got quite a lot of patterns I love, but this is really one of my favourites. It is the Fringe dress pattern by Chalk and Notch. It's a lovely woven dress pattern. I'm sure you've come across it before. I've made a few versions of the dress and I find it a really comfy, relaxed one to wear, but really pretty too. I'll show you the line drawings. It's got a really good size range as well. It goes from a US size 0 up to a US size 30. And the pattern comes with two different bust sizes as well, a B cup and a D cup. But yeah, these are the line drawings. So you can make either a dress or a blouse, and the blouse is basically a shortened version of the dress. And there are two different bodice options, and this is the one I've always made. I've never actually moved on to view B just because I love view A so much. It's got this sort of button down bodice with these darts to the front which give nice shaping, and there are darts at the back as well. And then what I love about this pattern is the sleeve. You kind of add on this quite large sleeve cuff and then gather it up with a little tab, as you can see here. I think it's a really cute feature. And then if you make the dress version, you add on a gathered skirt. I think there are pockets included. And it's got a dipped hem at the bottom, another nice feature. But it just sews up so nicely, this pattern. I love how the sort of facing is finished around the front. It gives a really neat finish on the inside. Sort of show it, you can see it just kind of really clean, neat finish with no raw edges showing. It just comes together really nicely. I think I sewed my first version when I was fairly new to sewing sort of woven dresses with more details, and I just loved the instructions, and I found, yeah, it just came together really nicely. But what I'm wearing today is a hack of the Fringe dress. I've never made the actual straight blouse version with the gathered sort of short skirt option on it. I wasn't sure about that style on me, but I really like the idea of making a sort of hack of the Fringe dress to turn it into a blouse. So I basically made the top bodice of the Fringe dress down to the sort of waistline. It's quite a high waist on this one. It doesn't really come down to my natural waist. I'd say it's maybe like a low empire line, but I quite like that on the Fringe dress. And then instead of adding on the sort of gathered skirt shortened to make a blouse, I decided to add on a sort of flat skirt front and back for the blouse. I'll stand up a bit so you can see what I mean. So you can see there's no gathering, the pieces have just been sewn together. And at the back I did add a couple of darts onto the bottom piece just to give a bit more shaping there, and they kind of match up with the darts at the back of the bodice. I'll try and turn around and get to the right angle so you can hopefully see. So hopefully you can see there what I mean and what I've done. And I still kept the dipped hem because I thought that was a nice feature. And it's quite a fun hack actually. It took a bit of figuring out to make sure I kind of could get the pattern pieces to match and get a nice shape to the bottom of the blouse. And I think I wrote a blog post about this one quite a while ago on my blog, so explaining how I'd hacked the pattern. So I'll link that down below in case you fancy checking it out. And I made my version in a really lovely double gauze fabric by Atelier Brunette. I've sewn with this double gauze fabric in a few different colourways. It's a fabric I love because it's got the lovely sort of lightness and softness of double gauze, but it's got quite a flat effect to it rather than your kind of classic slightly rippled double gauze effect, and I quite like that. It makes it feel a bit lighter maybe than your average double gauze, I guess. And it's got these cute little spots on, metallic gold spots, which I really love. I had to make sure when I was cutting the piece out, I had to make sure I cut them out quite carefully, because I think if you got one of these spots on a buttonhole, it would be really hard to work around it. But yeah, I think this is the sort of off-white colourway perhaps. It's like a creamy white colour. And I thought it would work quite well for kind of a top just to pair with some jeans. And then I added on some little buttons, some little creamy buttons to go with it. And yeah, it's just quite a nice, comfy, relaxed top to wear. And it was a fun hack, actually. Wearing this makes me feel like I should try hacking more of patterns I like, because it's often a really fun process. I think making something that's kind of then unique to you, that you're kind of taking some of the features you love of a pattern, but making it a bit different. So that's what I'm wearing today. I'll put a picture up so you can see what it looks like on. I think in terms of sizing, I've always gone for the size 0 on the Fringe dress, and based on my bust measurement of 32 inches, and the B cup or AB cup version of the Fringe dress in size 0 is designed for 32 inch bust. So that's what I've gone on, and then it's a bit more of a looser fit around the waist and hips. So I've always been able to pull on my Fringe dresses over my head. It's not too tight around there. I think you can add waist ties to bring it in a bit at the waist, but I quite like the slightly loose baby doll effect of the Fringe dress and on the blouse too. So that is what I'm wearing today, but I'll move on now to sharing with you my 2 new fabrics. So the first fabric that arrived with me this week is a fabric that I was gifted by Minerva in exchange for a blog post I'm going to be writing to pop up on their website once I finished sewing with this fabric. And I was really excited when this fabric arrived, actually, because it's really colourful and pretty. So I spent a while having a look at all the details in it. And it's one of Minerva's new exclusive Viscose challis range. Well, I guess it's not that new anymore. I think they released it last year, but they released a whole lovely range of Viscose challis fabrics that are all really bright and colourful with lovely prints on. And I've sewn with a couple of them before, and I know that they're really lovely to sew with, really nice quality and lovely and soft. Also quite nice and opaque too, so they work well for lots of different garments. And the one I chose to sew with this time is, yeah, a really pretty one. It is quite bright and colourful. It's called Echoed Light Viscose Challis, and here it is. So yeah, as you can see, it's got its lovely colourful prints to it. It's got like a black base, I guess, and then all these really pretty splodges of different colours. So there's all sorts of colours in there, as you can see, in sort of different sort of areas, I guess. There's sort of different sort of, yeah, quite a lot of interest in this fabric. So different sections, different colours are predominant. So there's orangey pinky section, and then this sort of bluey purpley, I guess. Yeah, all different really pretty colours. And as you can see, it's lovely and drapey and swishy, but also, yeah, opaque too. So yeah, really nice quality viscose fabric. And I think I asked for 1.8 meters of this fabric. And I know what I'm going to turn it into. I'd like to make my second version of this pattern here, the Mauve skirt pattern by True Bias. I've been admiring this pattern for ages, got it for Christmas, and then finally, a few weeks ago, I sewed up my first version of this pattern and I loved it. It's a really cute skirt pattern with an elasticated waist and this tie detail at the front. And then it's quite a versatile pattern because you can make it in different lengths, because there are different tiers you can add on. So you can make it as a maxi or a midi or a shorter skirt. And if you make the shorter skirt, you can either make it as just like a one level skirt, or you can add on tiers to make it into a tiered mini skirt. It's got a really good size range too. I've got the US size 0 to 18 version, but there's also a PDF version that comes in a size 14 up to 30. But yeah, I love a sort of floaty, swishy skirt for summer, so I thought this is a pattern I definitely get some good use out of. So I set up my first version a few weeks ago using a lovely Atelier dupe fabric. I'll pop that version up here in case you didn't see it going by on Instagram or my previous YouTube videos. I had a few issues sewing it down to me making some errors, so I'm going to try and avoid making any errors on my second version. So for my second version with this fabric, I'd like to make a slightly longer version, like a midi length version. And I might try a bit of a hack, I'm not sure yet, but I think it would make a really cute summery skirt, maybe team with like a black vest top or something and a pair of sandals. Just really sort of showcasing this print as like the main feature of the outfit I wear, I guess, because it's quite a bright one. I have seen on Minerva when I was looking at this fabric, and there are a few other people that have sewn with it and made dresses which looked really beautiful, but I felt for me, I wasn't sure. I think I might find a dress a bit overwhelming, so I thought going for a skirt and maybe a plain colour closer to my head would feel more comfortable for me. So that is my plan with this fabric, and I'm really looking forward to trying the Mauve pattern again. I guess it's a sign of a good pattern when you make the first version and you immediately want to try another version of it. So yeah, it'd be nice to have a sort of midi length skirt in my wardrobe. I've got, I think, just one summery midi length skirt, which is the Sabina skirt by Little Pomegranate, which is a free pattern. It's a skirt I made last year, and I really enjoyed wearing that length last summer, so it'll be nice to have another one in my wardrobe. So yeah, I haven't got this one in the wash yet. I need to get it in the wash and then start cutting it out, and I'm quite keen to get started on this one. So yeah, really beautiful fabric. I'll link it down below in case you're interested in having a look at this one. And then the second fabric that arrived with me this week is, like I mentioned, quite different to that floaty, colourful viscose fabric. But I'm also really looking forward to sewing with this one. I'm really excited about this one too. And it is a denim fabric, and I got it from Guthrie Ghani. And historically, I haven't been that confident about ordering denim online. It's just one of those fabrics, I guess, I haven't bought and sewn with a lot. And when I read the descriptions online in terms of talking about ounces and whether it's rigid and that sort of thing, I'm never that confident that I know exactly what it means and that when it arrives it's going to be what I'm expecting, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I've always been a bit nervous about ordering denim online. But I've been wanting to get some denim for a particular project for quite a while. And when I was browsing on the Guthrie Ghani website, I saw a denim that I thought might fit the bill. It looked like the sort of colour I wanted and possibly the weight I wanted, although I wasn't sure on that. And then I was watching randomly one of Lauren's Instagram lives that she does, I think on a Monday evening. And I really enjoy watching them. I don't know whether you've seen them, but yeah, they're really enjoyable watch, and really always learn lots from them too. Lauren basically is in the shop, and she often has a load of questions people have asked, and she gives sort of advice on sort of sewing issues and pattern and fabric pairings, and then she shares some new fabrics that might have come into the shop and her recommendations for what you could sew, and you kind of see her with the fabrics so you can see how they move and how they feel. And yeah, I just find them really enjoyable and informative too. And if you're interested, she also publishes them on YouTube as well. A couple of days later she'll release it on YouTube, so you can watch it and catch up on it later if you're not around actually at the time of the actual Instagram live. But anyway, I was randomly watching one of those and I saw her mention this fabric that I'd seen on the website, and she talked a little bit about it, and that gave me the confidence to think, yep, I'm going to order that. I think it looks right for what I want to make. So yeah, I went ahead and ordered it, and I'm really pleased with it actually, and I'm really looking forward to sewing with it. It's just right for what I wanted. So here is the denim fabric. It is their mid blue denim fabric, which is 11.7 ounces, and they describe as rigid, so it doesn't have any stretch to it. But even though it's described as rigid, which I maybe think feels like it might be quite stiff, it's not stiff, it's still nice and soft. It just feels fairly firm. So yeah, great for something like, I guess, a pair of rigid jeans or a jean skirt or something like that. So yeah, this is it. It's nice thickness, it's not super thick. It's got a bit of softness to it, but I think it'll be great for what I want to make, which is a skirt using this pattern here. The Moss skirt pattern by Grainline Studio. If you've been watching my videos for a while, you'll know that I've made a couple of versions of this pattern in corduroy before, which I really enjoy wearing and are perfect for kind of cosy winter weather. And whenever I talk about those versions, I always say pretty much, I should really make a denim version because I think it'll be great, this pattern, as a denim skirt, and work really well, probably through the seasons as a kind of summery denim skirt, as well as, you know, work well styled for winter. So every time I mention it, I think I should really get some denim and actually just make that, because it's something I think I get a lot of wear out of. So I finally got the denim, and I'm going to make the Moss skirt pattern in denim to add to my wardrobe, as well as my two corduroy versions. I haven't really got a kind of classic denim skirt like this. As you can see, it's quite a straight fitting skirt with a fly front, slash pocket. It's got yoke at the back. So it really does feel like a classic denim skirt, the equivalent of a pair of jeans in skirt form. Hasn't got the biggest size range ever. It goes from a US size 0 up to a size 18, and the largest size is for waist 37 inches and hips 47 inches. But I found, having made the corduroy versions, I've sort of played around with the pattern. I found I've tweaked it to the point where it fits me quite nicely. So I'm quite looking forward to making this denim version. So I think I'm going to go for this version here when I make my denim Moss skirt. There is an option here to make a longer version with this oversized hemband feature. I did add that oversized hemband feature when I made both of my corduroy versions, because I thought it was quite a cute feature. But I want to keep my denim version really simple. So yeah, I'm just going to go for this straight, very simple style skirt. But I think I'm going to lengthen it a little bit, because when I had a look at the pattern pieces, the mini skirt does look like it will come up quite short. And I wanted it to be a mini skirt, but not a really, really sort of micro mini skirt, as it were. So yeah, I'm definitely going to lengthen those pattern pieces. But I'm really looking forward to sewing this one up. I haven't got a sort of classic straight fit denim skirt in my wardrobe. I've got my Brumby skirt, which I made a few years ago, which I love. It's a denim skirt, but it's a gathered skirt with a lot more sort of body and volume to it. So it's quite a different style of skirt to this one. It's also in a darker denim, so I think this one will be, yeah, quite a different item, but really work well maybe in summer, just paired with like an oversized t-shirt, or sort of cozy in winter with a nice big snuggly sweater. So I'm really looking forward to yeah, giving it a go. I haven't sewed with denim for absolutely ages. I think the last time I sewed with denim was probably when I made my ginger jeans, which I don't know, that might have been 2 or 3 years ago. So I'm going to have to refresh my memory of how to work with it in terms of, I can't remember, you know, how to pre-wash it even. I'm sure there's quite a lot of rinsing needed to make sure some of the dye, excess dye, washes out and that sort of thing. But yeah, I'm going to have a little read up and then yeah, get washing and hopefully then cutting and sewing. And when I bought this fabric, I also bought a couple of other things from Cath. I got some matching thread, which I thought was handy. I also decided to try out their another thread they stock, which is the Gutermann jeans thread, I think it's called. It might be called jeans thread or denim thread. And I thought it was quite interesting because it's designed to be a little bit thinner than top stitching thread, so you can use it in the bobbin as well as on the top of the machine as well, which I think was quite a good handy thing to be able to do. Also, I remember when I made my ginger jeans, I used a top stitching thread and I sort of chose a kind of what I thought was a classic kind of orangey colour for the stitching, and I felt that it was almost a bit too bold and out there. I wasn't really that keen on the stitching in hindsight, so I thought this being slightly thinner, this thread, it will work really well for a slightly more subtle top stitching. And I went for this colour here, which is colour 8955, as you can see, hopefully. Yeah, Cath stock quite a few colours of this thread. And I was having a look online at the different threads because I didn't want to go for something too brassy orange this time round, having done that on my ginger jeans and regretted it. So I phoned them up and had a bit of a chat with them, and they sort of held up a few different threads against the fabric. And I suggested this one, and they said they thought it would work well. So I'm really pleased that actually it's got a bit of golden to it. I guess it's somewhere between brown and orange, somewhere in the middle, which I think is quite nice. I don't know whether you can see if I hold it up against the fabric. You can kind of see the top stitching threads there. But it's not too bold, so that's kind of what I wanted. So yeah, I'll let you know how I get on with this jeans thread. I hadn't come across it before, so it'll be interesting to see how it works, the top stitching, and how it looks. But yeah, I'm looking forward to giving it a go. And I love how helpful they are at Cath. I love that you can ring up the shop and they're very happy to give opinions. It was so handy on that jeans thread. And they also gave me an opinion on the zip too. I got a metal jeans zipper as well for the skirt, for the fly zip at the front. And they had, I think on their website, they had a navy zipper and possibly it was called a royal blue zipper or like a lighter blue colourway. And when I was on the phone, I asked them which one they'd recommend for this fabric, whether the blue was a good match or whether it might actually just, yeah, be not a great match and end up sort of being a bit too obvious. I mean, now it'll be hidden by the fly, but I wanted to kind of, yeah, get the best match I could. And they said that they thought the navy would be better, and I'm actually really happy with that colourway. I think it's nice and subtle. So yeah, I really appreciate that recommendation from them too. So if you ever see a fabric or something like Cath online and you want to ask any questions about it, I'd really recommend ringing up the shop. They're really friendly and very happy to help and very knowledgeable too. So yeah, I've got all my bits I need, I think, for my moss skirt. I also had a little look in my fabric scraps box to see if I could find a nice fabric to use for the pocket linings for the skirt. Again, I know, like the zip, they won't really be visible, but I always enjoy choosing a fabric that I think will match well, just because I know it's in there and I can enjoy that little feature that maybe just I see. So I thought I'd share with you the potential fabric options for the linings and see what you think and if you had a preference. These are all fabrics that I've got small amounts left of, not enough to make an actual garment, but they're perfect size for using for pocket linings. So I have a little box that I kind of go and have a look in whenever I need a fabric for that sort of thing. So the first option is this fabric here. It's a cotton lawn fabric by Lady McElroy, and I originally used this fabric to make a pair of pyjama bottoms. And I thought with the navy, it would kind of tie in with the navy of the zip and be quite cute for pocket linings for the moss skirt. So that's the first one. The second one is another Lady McElroy fabric, actually, I think. And this is a fabric I originally used to make a Davenport dress by Friday Pattern Co. And this is quite cute white fabric with little black polka dots on. So that was my second option for the pocket linings. And then the third option is a fabric that you might remember from last year if you're watching my videos last year. I sewed up a really summery Sarast dress by Named Clothing using this lovely, again it's a cotton lawn fabric, and I think this one is one by Dashwood Studio. And it's got kind of like a very, very pale grey background with these little spots, and I thought some of the little spots kind of matched the sort of denim fabric quite nicely, so it might be quite a good pairing for the pocket lining. It's quite a pretty soft fabric, this one. So those are my three options for the pocket linings. If you have a preference, let me know. Like I mentioned, I know it's not one of those things you'll see, but I love about when you're sewing your own clothes, you can choose those little details and it kind of makes the garment unique to you. So yeah, I won't need too much fabric. There's plenty of all these three for that lining. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting started on this denim skirt. I have to get my jeans needle back out. I haven't had that out for absolutely ages, like I mentioned. It'll be nice actually to sew with denim again, because it is one of those fabrics, like I said, that I'm not that confident around. And I find it such a great fabric. I love wearing jeans. I think it's so durable. It goes with so many things. So I'd like to build my confidence a little bit, and hopefully if this moss skirt goes well, it might encourage me to maybe think about buying more denim in the future and working with it a little bit more. So I'll let you know how I get on with that one. I'm really looking forward to finally making the denim moss skirt that I've been talking about for so long. So the next thing that I wanted to share in this video is how I've been getting on with my latest sewing project. And I haven't quite finished this project that I've been working on, but I've made quite a lot of progress. So I thought I'd share with you where I've got to so far and how I've been finding it. And I've been sewing up a dress using this pattern here, which is the Closet Core Elodie wrap dress. And a bit like the Maeve skirt by True Bias, it's a pattern that I really admired when it first came out, but it's taken me quite a long time to get around to actually getting the pattern and sewing it up. But I'm really enjoying sewing up at the moment. So I'll show you the line drawings first. It's a really pretty wrap dress pattern that has the sort of wraparound bodice that's secured by a tie, so no zips or fastenings to this one. And it's got two options for the sleeve. There's either this short grown on sleeve or this sort of longer dolman sleeve that's quite billowy. And then it's got quite a full swishy skirt that you can either make as a maxi length or midi length or just above the knee length here. And it's got some really pretty details, like sort of little sort of pleats to the bodice at the back and front, which gives a bit of blousiness to that area. And you can add on optional patch pockets if you wish. And as ever with Closet Core patterns, there's a really good size range. I've got the paper pattern, which comes in a US 0 up to 20. And there's also a PDF version, which I think goes from a 14 up to a 32, I believe. It's a really pretty dress. I've seen lots of lovely versions on Instagram. And I think it's one of those dresses that can look quite different depending on which option you choose for the sleeves and also what type of fabric you choose. So I've seen some lovely versions with this sort of full billowy sleeve that are perfect for maybe going to a wedding in like a lovely large scale floral fabric and that sort of thing. I've seen some really pretty versions like that, but I've also seen some more day dress style versions in fabrics like cotton linen blends that look really sort of smart and sort of more tailored in the short sleeve version. So I think it's quite a versatile pattern. And the version I've been making is one that I'd like to wear as a summer dress when we go on holiday this year. I decided to make the version with the short sleeves in a midi length. I thought the maxi length might be a little bit too long for a summer holiday, but I like the idea of midi length. It's one of those lengths that I wasn't sure suited me and that I'm kind of been coming around to and actually quite enjoy wearing. And I thought it would make a cute summer dress to wear out on an evening on holiday. So here is my version and how I've been getting on with it so far. I've made it in this lovely viscose fabric that I got quite a while ago from Rainbow Fabrics. It's a really cute floral fabric with little strawberries on too, so although it's got a black base, it makes me feel quite summery with the colours of the flowers and these strawberries. And this is one of those fabrics that when I got it, I hadn't got a particular pattern in mind, so it had been sitting in my stash for quite a while, and I think I had a decent amount of this, maybe 3 meters or something, so it's quite flexible as to what I could make. So when I sort of got the Elodie pattern, I thought actually this would be a perfect pairing and would work really well for a summer dress. So as you can see, I've made the short sleeve version here. It's quite hard to see on this fabric because it's quite busy, but if I hold it out closely, hopefully you can see these little pleats to the front, and they're also pleats on the back too, you can hopefully see. It's got a tie around the middle here. And yeah, it's midi length. But at the moment, the one thing I haven't done is hemmed it, because I did actually lengthen it slightly from the midi length on the pattern pieces. When I held those skirt pattern pieces up, I thought it looked like a shorter midi length and I wanted a bit more of a longer midi length. So I thought I'll add a couple of inches on, and then I can always chop those inches back off at a later stage if I decide I'd like it a bit shorter. So now I've kind of left it for a while and kind of for the hem to drop a little bit. I've had it hanging, because you do cut the skirt slightly on the bias, so I think there's quite a lot of potential for it to maybe drop a little bit in places as the fabric loosens. So what I need to do now really is try it on again and make a decision on the length, and then sort of even out the hem and hem it. And I'm really looking forward to finishing it, but I guess there's no rush really, because the weather isn't really summer dress weather quite here yet. But yeah, I often find I get to this point and the hem gets left for a little bit, just because it's not one of my favourite jobs, and it often involves enlisting my husband to help me kind of measure the hem and figure out where I need to kind of level it off. And it's not my husband's favourite job ever to help me with levelling the hems on dresses and skirts. He does do it, he does help me, but he always looks a bit long-suffering through the process, so we just try and get it done as quickly as possible. I know that there are some really cool tools out there you can use for hem levelling. I think actually on another recent Instagram live, Lauren from Cath was talking about a tool that has kind of like a chalk puffer that you press and it sort of puffs out chalk around a line or something like that, which sounded really clever. But it doesn't come up too often, the need to level hems, and my husband is willing to help. So like I said, we just try and get it done quickly and then just get it sorted. But anyway, what else do I want to say about the LED dress? Oh yeah, sizing. So in terms of sizing for my version, I decided to go with the size 4, a straight size 4. My bust would put me as a size 2, my waist would put me as a size 4, and my hips would put me as a size 6. But when I had to look at the finished garment measurements inside the pattern envelope, it looked like there was plenty of room at the hips because it's quite a swishy full skirt, so I thought it'd be fine to size down on that measurement. Then when I had a look at the finished garment measurement for the waist, it looked like there wasn't a great deal of ease there. And I know it's a wrap dress, so you can kind of pull it as tight or leave it as loose as you wanted, but I did want to make sure there was plenty of fabric that did pull across, and I wasn't left a little bit short there, so I didn't want to risk sizing down on the waist measurement. And I thought actually it'll probably be fine to size up on the bust measurement just one size, because the bodice of the LED wrap dress is designed to be a little bit blousy and billowy anyway, so it wasn't designed to be too close fitting. And I did consider grading between the sizes, so going for a size 2 on the bust and grading out to a size 4 on the waist, which is something I've done quite a lot in the past on other patterns, because I often find that my bust falls into a size category 1 smaller than my waist measurement. But when I had to look at the pattern pieces for the LED dress, I just couldn't figure out how to grade between those sizes without risking that things might not marry up at a later point when I came to sewing the dress together, just the way that the sizes were. I just wasn't 100% sure that I felt I'd be able to successfully grade and everything marry up properly. So I thought I'd go for the straight size 4 and just hope the bodice wouldn't come out too voluminous around the bust area. And actually it's come out fine. I've tried it on, obviously it's not quite finished yet, but I've tried it on and you can get a good idea of this area because it's all finished around here. And actually I quite like the fit. There's a bit of blousiness there, but it doesn't feel like it's too big and loose on me. So I'm really glad that the straight size 4 seems to have turned out okay for me. And I think if I make this pattern again, I'll use the straight size 4 again. And then in terms of tweaks, I did make one slight change to the pattern in terms of how the bodice neckline is finished. The pattern includes a facing to finish the bodice neckline, but that's not always my favourite finish. I often find facings are quite fiddly to insert, particularly when you're sewing with quite a drapey, shifty fabric like a viscose. And I just prefer the sort of a bias bound finish generally, so I decided to switch out the facing and make some bias binding in the same fabric and add that around the neckline. And what I decided to do was make it a visible bias binding, although it's quite a busy print so you can't see it that easily, but I'll hold it up so you can hopefully see. As you can see, I enclosed the front seam and I've got the bias binding visible running down the front there, which is quite fun to do. I did have to adjust the bodice pattern pieces slightly because they included a seam allowance to use to sew the facing, whereas I didn't need any seam allowance for this bias binding because it pretty much was the raw edge being enclosed. So I pretty much chopped the seam allowance off the bodice pattern pieces because I didn't need it for the bias binding. But I'm really happy with that finish and I think it looks quite neat all enclosed there. So I'm really happy with how the LED dress has turned out, although obviously it's not quite finished yet. I do need to hem it, and once I've hemmed it, I'll get some pictures and I'll put those in a future video. Yeah, once I've decided on the length and got my husband to help me with the levelling. But it's a really enjoyable sew, and I think it's actually a deceptively simple pattern. It just comes together quite quickly for such a pretty dress that looks so effective. And I found Cosette Core's instructions really good. There were some really helpful tips in there. Particularly, there was quite a lot of stay stitching required of the skirt, because you do cut the skirt on the diagonal at points to kind of get the fullness. And there were some really handy tips about stay stitching to stop it stretching out when you sew the seams and ending up sort of pulling the seams and making, I guess, the seams a bit longer. So I really appreciate all those little helpful tips and hints through the pattern. So I definitely recommend the LED dress pattern as quite an enjoyable one to sew. But yeah, I just need to finish this and get some pictures, and I'll hopefully be able to share them with you fairly soon. Yeah, so wish me luck with finishing that one. So that is everything that I've got to share in this video. So thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel before, I would really appreciate it if you would hit that subscribe button. I'll hopefully be back with another video soon, but in the meantime, I hope you have a lovely day, and thank you again for watching. Bye!